Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 345 of Yank on the Footy. I'm Craig Wessels, and I'm coming to you from not Sandusky, Ohio, but Waynesville, North Carolina for this round. I'm in the deep South, well, not the deep South, but the South in the mountains of North Carolina, visiting my daughter and other family, helping her get prepared for her upcoming school year, working in her classroom and getting it ready. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be bringing round 20 preview to you. I do hope you'll head over to my website, ayankonthefooty.com, and get signed up on the mailing list so that when new episodes come out, you'll have them in your inbox within just a few minutes of the release time. And if you want to leave a review over there, that'd be a huge help as well. And you can certainly share the podcast with your friends and families as well. Now, today's club of the episode, it's a kind of a unique name. They are the Bears Lagoon-Serpentine of the Loddon Valley Football League in northwestern Victoria. And the club was founded back in 1945, and over their history, they've captured a dozen Loddon Valley premierships. The most recent one, I believe it was 1995, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the club is currently sitting in the third spot on the ladder with 10 wins after 13 contests. And I had to go back and do a little bit of a double take in looking at some of the stats. And I know that statistics in local footy leagues can maybe be a little bit inflated, but you got a young man who's only played 9 of their first 13 games. He hasn't played the last few weeks. I'm not sure if there was an injury, and I hope that he's okay. But a young man named Josh Mellington, who's kicked 93 goals in their first 9 games. He's had 6 games where he's been in double digits, including one where he had 17 goals. I mean, it's phenomenal numbers. Now, this Saturday, the club is going to be holding their pub crawl, leaving the Camp Hotel at 10:30 and the Calaville at 6 p.m. And I've never gone on a pub crawl before. I know my wife told me that she did one of these in Scotland, which I would imagine that must mean it was a rather intense one. Um, but the theme, as it says on their Facebook page, is to appeal to authority or to assert your defiance by dressing up either as police officers, criminals, or lawyers. And I'm wondering whether or not there's going to be a Cleaver Green appearance. And could you actually dress Cleaver Green up as one, either the lawyer or the criminal? In this case, I do want to wish the Bears the absolute best during the rest of their fixture and hope that they have an awesome, awesome event this Saturday. Now let's jump into the games. We're getting into the nitty-gritty of 2024, and this would have been the last week I would have been in Australia had I gone on my trip this year. So I would have had some decision making to do in terms of what I wanted to do as far as watching games, and I'll get into that here in just a moment. But we've got some pretty interesting contests coming up this week. Carlton's hosting Port Adelaide on Friday night. Port, they really need to win this game to keep the Bulldogs, the Hawks, and the D's at bay because they're coming. They're coming. And I saw the rumors and I saw people making posts about Kenny Hinckley being the next West Coast senior coach. I've been traveling, so I've not had a chance really to delve into that. So I don't know if there's any substance to that. I know there may be some folks in the Port Adelaide camp that are going, please take him. Let us start fresh with somebody new. I don't know if he's the answer there or not. It's kind of interesting with the whole Don Pike being at Adelaide connection there, though. Um, you know, the Blues, they can certainly keep pace with the Swans with an outside chance at finishing in the top spot on the ladder. It's a slim possibility, of course. Mark Pitnett's back in, replacing Tom DeKoning for the Blues. I think it's going to be a great, great clash with 2 really, really good midfields, but I am going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with the Blues to win this one by 11 points. And then we head down to Tasmania, and this would have been one of the 2 games if I was going to travel this last week within Australia. This would have been one of my options. I probably would have gone with this one because I think I would have loved to have seen Tasmania, even though the weather is colder than the summer months. But it would have been great to get down there to see a game in Tasmania. The Roos, despite let's be honest, my horrific tip of tipping them over Sydney a couple of weeks ago, which turned out to be absolutely disastrous. They've actually played some competitive footy here recently. And I fully expect them to throw absolutely everything at the Cats. Okay. The Cats, they arguably played their worst game of the season last week at home against the Bulldogs. You could certainly debate, if you want to look at a couple different games, their performance against the Suns up in Darwin, which was awful. I'm beginning to wonder whether or not this is just an affirmation of cats in general, like as a species, not liking water. Is that the case? Because it was extraordinarily humid in Darwin, and we had the quagmire, if you will, down at GmbHA Stadium. You know, I do have to say that I saw that Lee Montaigne was actually tipping the ruse this week and said that they're going to run the legs off of the Cats. I can certainly see that. This is a young side that's growing week upon week. They're getting better. Good things are happening with them. It's building for maybe 2025, possibly 2026 if they don't play finals next year. I think the benefit of a bottom four fixture next year is going to be beneficial to them and maybe help seeing them project up the ladder a little bit more quickly than some folks might anticipate in 2025. You got Tanner Bruin back in. Shannon Neal is back in as well. Yeah, I think it's going to be a closer game than Cats fans would like it to be. And I think the Roos are going to continue to show some growth, but I'm going to go with the Cats to win this one by about 8 points. I think it's going to be a very good game. And I do think the Cats do get away with the win, though, because they desperately need this one. And then we head to Marvel for St. Kilda hosting Essendon. And if you've not looked at the ladder very closely, 14 points separate these clubs on the ladder, but only 2 percentage points separate them. And, the Bombers, they've lost 5 of 7. And they seem to be, and this is not a shot at Essendon supporters at all, but, the fact that they've not won a finals contest in, 20 years, I think it's been. Are they enjoying this whole idea of being the lovable losers here? I don't know. They're welcoming some good players back in this round. Darcy Parish is back in. Peter Wright, former captain Dyson Heppel's back in. This is a must win because they close out the year with the Dockers, the Suns, the Swans, and the Lions. And I do think that they ultimately they postpone their inevitable demise for another week. I don't think this club's going to end up making finals this year with just the number of hiccups that they have had throughout the year. But I am going to go with the Bombers to win this one by 15 this week, and it pushes them 1 week closer to playing finals. But they're going to have to play out of their minds and win, at least 2, if not 3 of these final 4 to get in, and then anything can happen. My sister-in-law is puppy behind me, Stanford, is not happy that I'm not paying attention to him right now. So I apologize for the puppy whining behind me there. He's going to go out for a walk here very shortly. Now we've got Gold Coast hosting Brisbane up in Gold Coast. And the Suns, they've yet to lose this year, but they're facing the hottest team in the comp, okay? The Lions, have, dare I say, roared back into the top 3. Now go back to the beginning of, the first half of the season. How many of you thought the Lions were going to be playing finals? Maybe some of you thought they might be able to rebound it up. How many thought they were going to get back into the top 4? Now, I'm feeling a little better about this because I did tip the Lions to win the premiership this year. And I thought back in early June, boy, did I absolutely butcher that tip. I'm feeling a little better about that right now, but I do think, however, this is going to be a good matchup. The Suns, they're running out of games to push themselves into the 8 this year. They finish up with the Eagles and the Tigers along with the Bombers and the D's. If they want to prove their finals bona fides, this is one that I think would help to do that. But again, they're really far. They've stuck down on the ladder level right now. I do think they keep their home streak going, and I think Gold Coast is going to break the Lions' 7-game winning streak and win this one by 7 points in one of the best games of the round. Okay, I just think it's going to be a great matchup. Jared Witz is back in. So you're going to have Witz and Ned Moyle both listed as being part of the 22 this week. So it's going to be, I think, a really, really good contest. And then we got the D's hosting GWS at the MCG. Max Gawn is back. Not a moment too soon for them. The D's have a tough run home, but they've got the good fortune of playing this one in front of their home crowd. The Giants get Sam Taylor back. Dare I say, I'd be nuts to say that they've not missed him. Too soon. The Orange Tsunami's back in operation. I think that they're going to get themselves a big win here at the MCG, and they're going to push the D's further down the ladder. and insert at this point in time a very deep collective sigh from Bombers supporters here going, okay, that's one. That's one that's going to stay below us there. So I'm going to go with the Giants to win this one by 14 points. Sorry, Peps. I just think they're going to get it done. Okay. And then we head to Fremantle and West Coast out at Optus and the Derby out there. The Dockers, they've pushed their way into the top four. Again, mea culpa. I think I picked them 16th or 17th on the ladder this year. So they're proving me wrong. So as wrong as I had been about the Lions, and I might start becoming right, Fremantle, when I do my tips for next year for the ladder, whatever my initial thought is for Fremantle, I should take the Stranger Things approach, the TV series on Netflix, and just go into the upside down and just pick the opposite. If I think, okay, they're going to be top four, they're going to be bottom four. Bottom four, put them in the top four, because whatever I seem to tip them to do, they do the opposite. Now, I think that they're going to, win this one handily by at least 4 goals, but they're run home after this. They've got the Bombers, they've got the Cats, the Giants, and Port Adelaide. It's not an easy run for them the rest of the way. Now, those are all 4 winnable games for them, but they're going to have to earn each and every single one of those. Okay. So I am going with Fremantle to win that one. And then we've got Collingwood hosting Richmond at the MCG, and the Pies have dropped 4 in a row. And while I never want to write off a defending premiership side, we know what happened to the Cats in 2023. The Pies may very well find themselves outside the finals this year. And I think it's likely to happen right now, the way things are looking. They close out with the Blues, the Swans, the Lions, and the D's after this. They play the Swans at the SCG, so that's no easy task right there. They're 6 points outside the 8. They've got 4 clubs ahead of them. Now, I'm not a math whiz, and I'm not exactly sure how the calculus is going to work here, but getting them back into finals this year is not going to be easy. And I know they've had a massive amount of injuries, okay? Every club has injuries. Look at what's happened with Richmond, okay? But they did come into the comp as the oldest team in the comp this year. And I know, the Cats were the second oldest. The Cats have long been the oldest team in the comp, but the Magpies surpassed them by a few months this year. Now, I do think that the Pies win this one by about 4 goals. I do think that they're going to probably miss finals this year, and we're going to see some massive, massive changes on their list at the end of 2024. I think a lot of these older players that are there are maybe going to be on their way out. Some by their own volition, others may be shown the door before they're ready for it to be shown to them. And then we head up to the SCG for the Swans hosting the Bulldogs. Now, the Swans have lost 3 out of 4. That's the bad news. The good news, it's been by a combined 5 total points. They've lost 3 games by 5 points. That's it, 5. That's all. The other bad news is that just recently they've experienced a significant rash of injuries led by their catalyst, Tom Papley, who we may not see again until September with the ankle ligament injury. Dane Rampy as well. Really bad time for injuries to strike. The Bulldogs are 2 points outside the 8, and they've got 3 very vulnerable teams ahead of them. Now, I tipped against the Swans a couple of weeks ago. Disastrous results, as I mentioned earlier. I think I might be right this time, though. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs to get another win on the road. Okay. I'm going with the Bulldogs to win this one by 2 goals against the Swans. I'm not saying that the Swans are resting on their laurels right now. I'm not saying that at all, but the Swans have, they have some cushion. They're still 2 games ahead of the Blues. I don't think the Swans are falling out of the top 4. Okay, that's not happening. Yes, they want to stay top 1, top 2, so they can, have a home, final game as much as possible before they possibly play in the grand final at the MCG. But they also need to make sure they get all of their pieces in place. And John Longmire is a brilliant coach, strategist. He's going to do everything to prepare that club for finals. And even if it means taking a tactical retreat, if you will, in order to get people in the proper position for finals, then I think that's what he's going to do. Okay. And then we get to the last game of the round, and that is Adelaide hosting Hawthorn. And as I mentioned at the outset of this episode, I was going to be deciding upon 2 games travel-wise this year. I was either going to go to Tasmania to go see the Cats play the Roos, or I was going to drive down to over to the west to Adelaide to see the Hawks and the Crows play, making that trip down the coastline to go see, some of the countryside there and experience that. Um, you know, this is a possible 2025 finals contest. Okay. Possibly. Now, both these clubs have been playing better as of late. The Hawks, they could be in the 8 by Sunday evening. They could be in the 8th spot if all the chips fall where they may. Now, they've got an interesting run home. They've got 2 really tough games with the Giants and the Blues, but then they also play Richmond and they play North Melbourne. And could Sam Mitchell's squad finally or really make the 8 after starting out the season with 6 losses in their first 7 games? I mean, as much and as well as Fremantle has performed this year, as well as Sydney has performed this year, I almost think that right now the horse in the leading the race right now for coach of the year has got to be Sam Mitchell for what he has done with this club in terms of turning it around. Okay. I am going to go with the Hawks to win this one on the road. I just think that they're playing really, really good football. This is going to be a competitive game. Okay, it's going to be a lot of fun. They knocked off a top 4 side of the defending premiers in back-to-back weeks. I am going to go with the Hawks to win this one on the road and keep the pressure on the clubs ahead of them in the 8. Okay. Are all the chips going to fall into play for them to make it into the 8 this week? I don't know, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility. And if you're a Hawthorn supporter, you've got to be excited about the last month of the fixture, but then you're also thinking, can we just fast forward and get to 2025? I know a lot of you are probably thinking that because this is a club that is definitely on an ascendancy. Okay. So there you go. There are my tips for round 20. Okay. I will be back in Ohio tomorrow night. So I hopefully will be able to watch the Cats game live at about 11:30 or 11:45 p.m. on Friday night. I'm looking forward to that. Let me know what you think. Where am I wrong? Ladies and gentlemen, look out for one another. If you need to reach out and talk to somebody, those numbers are in the show notes of every episode of my podcast. Please reach out. The world is a much better place with you in it. I would love to hear from you as well. You can drop me a note on any of my socials, on X at Yank_on Facebook, on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. You can shoot me an email at ayankonthefooty@gmail.com. If you know somebody who'd be a great guest and perhaps it's you, I'd love to chat with you. So please reach out to me, shoot me an email. Love to get you on the podcast. And, I know this has been a kind of a bit of a dry cycle in terms of the podcast. And I'm missing doing my bread and butter, the things that I love to do, which are the interviews. But I have been, how else can I say it other than I've been working my ass off this summer when a lot of teachers, take a little bit of downtime. I've been working close to 40 hours a week during my summer months when I'm quote unquote on break, setting additional money aside for this trip for hopefully 2025, and looking forward to seeing some games in person. Knock on wood. Hopefully my health is good and allows me to do that. But folks, please subscribe to the podcast. Please share it with your friends and family. And as always, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I will catch you later. And this has been episode 345 of the podcast. I do hope you'll share it with your friends and family. And until next time, cheers and goodbye.